she got me to an audition in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I auditioned. I was in sneakers and kids, and the ballet mistress, or I should say the artistic director of the school, gave me a scholarship pretty much on the spot.
Hey everyone, I'm Denise Tova, host of Beyond the Bar podcast. And my guest today, oh my goodness, has lived about 5 lifetimes in one. So, let's start with the headlines. If you saw Dumb and Dumber, you saw her. She played the FBI agent opposite Jim Carrey. She played Eddie Murphy's love interest in The Distinguished Gentleman. She was Drucilla Winters on The Young and the Restless, Dr. Amanda Bentley for 8 seasons alongside Dick Van Dyke on Diagnosis Murder. She's a 3-time Emmy nominee and a 12-time NAACP Image Award winner. But before any of that, she was a foster child on a farm in Maine who taught herself ballet from a book and ended up at the American Ballet Theatre. She's an actress, an author, ballerina, and gosh, one of the fiercest advocates for foster children in this history. Victoria Rowell, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Denise. I'm happy to be here.
There is so much, and these are headlines, and this podcast that has been a passion project of mine, and I wanted to go beyond the headlines, and I'm interested in the story and how you got here. So take me back to Maine, the farm, the foster homes, that little girl teaching herself ballet. Who were you?
Sure. I was raised by an extraordinary woman, Agatha Armstead, who'd already raised a family of her own. And she was also a brilliant pianist, and she had just a natural sense for arts. And she saw that I was, feeding the pigs and the chickens a different kind of way, kind of twirling into the chicken coop. And but I loved ballet, and she didn't know where that love came from. It was kind of innate. And she is the one that found the book, and we practiced these rudimentary steps on this farm in Maine. And she got me to an audition in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I auditioned. I was in sneakers and kids, and the ballet mistress, or I should say the artistic director of the school, gave me a scholarship pretty much on the spot. And that scholarship lasted for 8 years. And then that scholarship led to me auditioning for American Ballet Theatre. And then I won a full scholarship to American Ballet Theatre and to School of American Ballet, which is the school of New York City Ballet. But my teacher really wanted me to go to American Ballet Theatre because that's where her relationships were.
I'm trying to visualize that little girl teaching herself ballet from a book. It's not like you had access to YouTube back there. That's incredible.
No, but we had the Ed Sullivan Show.
That's right.
And so the June Taylor dancers, anything, toe tappers on variety shows, whatever, Carol Burnett dancing. I mean, it was any kind of dancing that Agatha Armstead could expose me to, she did. And it all mattered. But we practiced the 6 rudimentary steps of classical ballet every evening, because she always played piano at night. And as I say, when I went for the audition, it was quite a journey. I won't take you through it, but getting from Maine to Cambridge, Massachusetts on the Greyhound bus. But I had essentially missed the audition by the time we got there. And luckily, Esther Brooks, the artistic director at the time, said, well, you're here now. Let's see what you can do. And when I properly got myself into position, she was astonished. And she said, I'm not familiar with a rural ballet school in Maine. She wanted to know more. And so the rest is history.
Have you ever, and I may be ignorant, but I don't care, I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you ever thought about turning this into a movie or a play?
Yes, I am currently looking for producing partners and financing. I have written a New York Times best-selling book about the story, my story. It's titled The Women Who Raised Me. It's a HarperCollins, William Morrow imprint book. It was republished last year on Wordy Publishing. It's available on Amazon. There's been interest. There is interest. I've gone ahead and produced 2 scripts so that I'm ready. So there's interest in it as a series. People have talked to me about how about that, but it's about getting into the right room. I think it would make a great Netflix, a great Hulu, a great Amazon. It would be great on this network, Angel, this platform rather, Angel, that I just did a movie for, The Secret Between Us. They have a movie out right now called Young Washington. They're doing phenomenal movies, and they're movies with not only historical content, but movies with, faith and family leaning. So I'm open. If somebody comes to your show, Denisa, and says, hey, we want to talk to Victoria about this, this movie based on her life, I'm all ears. And you'll come on as a producer, Denisa.
We have to make it happen. This is so tell me about your foster experience. It's not always great. What was yours like?
Well, no one wants to be in foster care, even in the best of circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit the lottery when I got the right social workers who care, because it starts there. And I'm still in touch with one of my primary youth social workers, believe it or not, Linda Webb. In fact, we're going to do a conversation with about our 50+ year relationship and how important reciprocity and staying in touch with people who matter in your life matter. And I always wanted to let my social worker know that her work was not in vain. And I just remained in touch with her. And I asked her, I said, Linda, how many of your former caseload has been in touch with you? And she said, you're the first one. And I was shocked, because she's an extraordinary person. And most social workers are amazing and selfless, and a lot of sacrifice, because they have their own families.
Yeah.
But she really worked in tandem with my foster mother and other people. It wasn't only my foster mother that I lived with. I did have to live with other families in pursuit of this scholarship I got, because my foster mother was elderly and could not chase this dream with me. So arrangements were made, and other arrangements were made. About 5 arrangements were made. And of course, there were difficulties at times, but because of Agatha and her mentoring, I was able to overcome, as best as I could, darker moments in that foster care odyssey. get to New York. And then, I had to deal with living in New York. I was 17. I graduated from high school early. I got the scholarship when I was 16, and I was living in New York City when I was 17. And, you just have to ask, what could possibly go wrong living in New York? I mean, I can't even imagine it for my children. And of course, they're adults now, but it's just mind-boggling. And it was mind-boggling. It was pretty complicated. But I didn't let, as much as I could, my teachers know that I was initially they didn't know that I was in foster care. I was underage, and I just didn't want to let them know that I was living between two worlds.
I see.
I just wanted to fit in as much as I could. And I already didn't fit in because I looked different from the other students. So I was the only person of color in the class, and classical ballet is already very European, we'll say. And yes. So there was a lot to navigate, but I was determined, because this was my college. This was my lifeline to an independent life with dignity, and I was determined.
Wow, what a courage. I really appreciate that. I came to this country when I was barely a teenager by myself, and I didn't know the language, and I landed in New York, and I was a girl from Prague, Czech Republic, and it was
Czech
all
Republic. Wow.
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And
Dobry den.
Dobry Dobrý den. Wow. So how
I've been to Czechoslovakia twice.
wow. When was the last time?
Oh my God. Oh, years and years ago, but please continue your story.
No, this is your story. I just, as I'm listening to you, I am connecting with that girl trying to navigate big city, and holding on to maybe a secret, and just sort of in order to fit in. And they're I mean, I'm here, but there are period of times when I was homeless and experienced teen pregnancy, and it was scary. But what pulled me was, it was this thirst for education that my mom instilled in me. So I would go to a local library. And anyway, very long story short is that you pull yourself by bootstraps, and if it's a matter of surviving, you find that strength and the courage. And I was going to ask you, what kept you going when you had every reason not to?
The alternative was not an option for me. I learned later that, as an advocate for foster care and underserved children, marginalized children, but that 75% of the population, here's one statistic, but 75% of the prison population has had a brush with foster care. Now, that doesn't mean it's because of foster care, but what happened that they had to go into foster care that relegated them to make a poor decision, or a decision they felt they had to make, whether it was stealing food or what have you, that landed them in jail or in prison. So because the bar is also very low, just to riff a little bit on the title of your show, but because the bar is so low, and trying to get beyond the bar for foster youth, like you, the other option wasn't even a consideration. I I couldn't fail. And there's no safety net. You know that more than anybody, what it's like not to have a safety net. What it's not, well, what it's like not to have an address to open a bank account. What you like, you're rudderless. You're just out there. And at the same time, when you have all of these things stacked up against you, you have a limitless amount of determination.
Yes.
Figuring things out. You're going to do it. And, and you have to have a lot of faith.
You just keep going. It's one foot in front of the other. And I think it's, it's perspective over time, and yeah, there's something that's raw. You've obviously tapped into it, and I love what you said. I think it was that some people are meant to have one mother, and you were meant to have many.
That's right. That's right. And they weren't just from the child welfare system, not just, but they weren't from the child welfare system per se. Like my social worker was a mentor mother. I befriended folks in school, and they would tell their parents, and Vicki needs a place to stay. And I was very fortunate that way. And all different walks of life raised me. Elderly, Black, white, Jewish, Ukrainian. One of my ballet teachers had escaped the war in Ukraine and was a premier ballet teacher at American Ballet Theatre, legendary. Her name was Madame Valentina Paraslavic. And everyone took her class from around the world when they were in New York guest starring, like Nureyev, Calafracci, everyone took class, Alicia Alonso. But so anyway, I'm just saying that all of these different women who came into my life were my mentors. And as I say, it's very important to practice reciprocity, let people know that they've made a difference in your life. And if they've passed on, let someone in their family know that they made a difference.
What is your pet peeve? Something you sort of triggers you about people?
Oh, a pet peeve, leaf blowers. No.
That's funny.
A pet peeve, just, I think people not trying to get to solutions, just complaining instead of getting to a solution or recommending a solution, trying to figure things out. That's the work, trying to get to a solution. Anyone can sit around and complain about something.
That's what you had to figure out.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting. That frustrates me. And, people would ask me from time to time, I mean, they see I like fitness. That's not what I do. That's just part of my life. And why have you considered coaching someone or this or that, mentoring someone? I said, no, because they would be frustrated with me. And likewise, they would have to be doer by nature and completely self-disciplined. I'm not one to tell someone, I'll tell you once, and if you don't want to do it, then that's on you. But I don't have any patience for people, especially if they continue to complain. Don't do anything about it.
Right.
I can't.
Well, it's interesting because it is about self-motivation and discipline. And people either get it or they don't get it. Like I love I love hot yoga. Of course, I love classical ballet. I love hot yoga. I love being out in nature and walking. And if it's a group effort, whether you spin, I used to spin, there's something magical about being in group energy and how it manifests more energy.
Mm.
It's a great magic thing. Of course, we get that in the ballet classroom, or in a company, or in a theater company, or in a movie, or it's an ensemble. And if people can understand that energy begets energy, it's really unquantifiably magical. But at the same time, you can motivate self and also have this inner energy, which is really a core discipline that you have. And at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. And it's important to have for self-preservation.
Yes. And it's I love that. I didn't understand, like I didn't understand football when I first came to US. I mean, I knew soccer. I didn't know the American football. And to me, it was something that was like primal. When I see it on TV, same thing with rugby. And it was not until I actually went to a game and I saw, father with son, small kids, elderly, and just sort of was like a coming together, and it was electrifying. It was just uh it was great to see. Nothing else mattered. People were there to support their team, and it was simple, and it was great. Going to a concert, same thing. But it's this I can't hold myself accountable. I'll hold you for failing to take action, my goals. Basically, it's that sort of a thing as well. You give someone advice, they came to you, and then they come to you and say, well, I really didn't do it. I don't know why, I just didn't. So it's that sort of a thing. So I didn't, it was interesting. You talked about group energy, and I've experienced that going to football games, and which initially were foreign to me, coming from Europe where we had soccer. I didn't understand American football, and I thought, well, that's primal. What's so
Right.
special about that? And then when I ended up at one game where you saw people of all different ages, and so nothing else mattered to support the team. It was electrifying. It was great. And then going to concerts, so it is like multiplying the energy, like you said. I think, whereas if someone
And
is
we're
asked,
seeing that with FIFA right now, right?
yeah,
We're seeing that
yes,
around the world. I'm just getting
yes,
back from London a day and a half ago, and London was playing Norway, and they came from behind, but the whole city, I mean, you heard these huge bursts, these huge screams of when a team scored. So yeah, collective energy, it can be powerful. It is powerful.
there, yep, very contagious, very, very, yeah, it is amazing. So I was curious, how did you, and I know you didn't leap, there are many, many steps and many years, but how did you leap, so to speak, from ballet to acting?
Denise, it was a natural progression because dance is acting. You're miming and
Mm.
you're acting out um, a story with your body and with your expression. So it was a form of acting. By the way, when I was in Prague, I went to see Rusalka. I don't, yeah, amazing.
I don't hear that
But
often. I do not hear that often from,
I bet you don't.
no, and in its native language, for someone to talk about that and to describe it, that's so happy to hear that.
Yeah, we'll have another a sub conversation offline about my relationship with Czechoslovakia. But it was a natural progression for me, and though different because I was using my voice. Nobody could care less if you could do a triple pirouette or how high your arabesque was. Nobody cared. And so I had to take time. I went through commercials first. I was uh, offered an opportunity to audition for commercials and to be in a movie many years ago with Milos Forman, another Czech. And he directed the movie Hair. And so I was one of the ballet dancers that were hired. So that eased me into the world, which was extraordinary. And then commercials. And then commercials led to legitimate auditions for shows. And then, yeah, I kept going with the acting.
So Drucilla Winters, she became iconic. What did she mean to you? Like past the role?
There was, I saw myself in Drucilla. She's really a composite of different people I met along the way, including myself. And she was a puller up by the bootstraps, young woman, had problems at home, ran away, and had been living on her own, presumably at a very young age, and rough around the edges, and then refined herself. And people really globally related to her. I mean, if I was in Greece, if I was in Turkey, it didn't matter. People love this character. And they showed it twice a day in some countries where it was licensed. Definitely in the Caribbean, twice a day. It was #1 for a long time in France. So I'm just grateful I got to portray the role of Drucilla and show that it is possible to come from humble beginnings, work hard, have a relationship, get married, have a family, and try to live a life with dignity. I mean, there were a lot of parallels with the character in my own life. The creator of the show, William J. Bell, who I absolutely loved, I just adored him. He was so open to collaborating with story with me. And when he found out I pitched the ballet storyline and then the foster adoption storyline, and he was just like, my door is always open if you have ideas. And we became friends. He's a wonderful man.
And then something like Dumb and Dumber, which was very, very different, opposite of Jim Carrey. What was that? What was that like?
Jim is the nicest guy. I was hired, but my scenes didn't tape all the time back to back. So I'm what's called a drop and a pickup. So they'd shoot my scenes, then I'd go back to LA, and then they'd bring me back out. And Jim was always so happy to see. He'd say, I'm so glad you're back. We missed you. And he was just warm and welcoming and hilarious, because you have to be ready when we're shooting the scene. Jim is going to ad lib. Oh my God.
Oh God.
And he's hilarious. So I played the straight person while he's doing the joke. And I mean, everyone's shoulders are doing this behind the camera because people are trying to suppress their laughter. He's just amazing. What a genius. And Dick Van Dyke, just an icon. We just celebrated his 100th birthday last December with PBS. We did a special. PBS produced a beautiful tribute to him. He's just an icon. What can you say?
And at some point, I mean, you went and you build your own thing. I mean, you again, unstoppable.
Yeah, about 10 years, well, before 10 years ago, I started writing my own material. I really wanted, well, I wrote for Diagnosis Murder. I got to write one episode. I would have done more if I had the opportunities. I wanted to write for Young and the Restless, but those opportunities were not available. And, I've learned to pivot. We started talking about that from the beginning. You got to make a way out of no way. And so I just started writing my own material. I did the books. I did a series of soap opera books. And then I started writing the scripts. So I produced, directed, and wrote a soap opera, The Rich and the Ruthless. It's a satirical soap opera. It was on Paramount BET Plus, and I got to work with amazing people, and some of my soap opera family made guest appearances. I've written Christmas movies, Blackjack Christmas. I'm getting ready to direct. I'm working on the script right now, but I'm getting ready to direct and produce another Christmas movie this November titled Merry Murder, which is a romance suspense holiday movie. I've done reality. Yeah, I do love directing and producing.
So, I mean, if you were to direct a movie about yourself, I'm wondering, would you play yourself, or is there someone you have in mind you would choose for that role?
Yes. Right. Well, the movie starts, we have flashback, and then we come into real time. So there are a couple of actresses that I'd love to play me. And then the young Vicky, the little Vicky, that we would see. And then I've reached out to actresses like Jane Fonda to play my ballet mistress, Alfre Woodard. They've presented, I'm very, very grateful, letters of interest, which is highly unusual for them to do. But whoever I've spoken to about the movie is very interested in participating when I get it off the ground. With producing partners, and certainly with the studio always has ideas about who they would want to see in the roles. And there is a commercialism involved in the selection of the actress. But Tessa Thompson to play Vicky in her, at 30 would be amazing. I like Zoe Saldana. I've got to be able to sell the actress as a ballet dancer and double her the way they did in Black Swan with Natalie Portman. So I need to be able to double the actress. So there has to be a balletic look to the actress. But there are other actresses that I'm interested in for all of the roles. And then my biological mother, I'd love Sarah Snook to play my mother, Dorothy. I mean, Sarah Snook is extraordinary and would just kill the role. And then for my elderly foster mother, there are a couple of actresses that I would like very much for them to consider the role, and some that you may not have heard of. So, for example, she's an extraordinary theater actress, Starletta Dupois, who's in what's the name of the movie that Leonardo DiCaprio was in? Oh God, I can't think of the name.
Who was he there with, or what was it about?
One day, is it
Catch Me If I Can? No.
I can't think of the movie right now. It was nominated for an Oscar. Okay, I'm not going to bring us down to this rabbit hole, but Starletta Dupois was in the movie. She's an amazing.
We could go down that rabbit hole. Good.
Oh, yeah. If somebody could look it up, it's yeah. It was nominated for a number of Oscars.
Oh, that's okay. No, don't worry about it. I was actually
looking at, okay. I didn't know if somebody was looking it up. But anyway, Starletta Dupois would play perhaps Agatha, also an actress, theater actress, film actress, LaTanya Richardson Jackson. Sam Jackson's wife's a brilliant producer and actress. So Alfre Woodard's interested. So we'll see. And I've also been talking to premium crew. So I've talked to Colleen Atwood about costuming Ruth Carter. I've talked to incredible composers. And there's a beautiful groundswell of interest ongoing in wanting to see this movie get made. So
yes,
we shall see.
Yes, you are manifesting it as we speak.
Yes.
I can feel it, visualize it, talking about energy, and it is far too important not for it to unfold into something beautiful. If you look at what's out there right now, it's pitiful. So this is, you're such an inspiration. I am just trying to, you talked about the foster children, and what do you feel that we could do collectively as a society? What can we do better, to help foster families?
Well, first, identify a group, whether it's through a center or a church, maybe because confidentiality is an issue, and so you can't readily know, but you could call your local Department of Children and Family Services and ask if there is a group or groups that you can volunteer for. At Christmas, there's always a need for Christmas gifts. At Thanksgiving, food baskets. There are groups that put together beautiful baskets for families and deliver them. So there are ways that you can participate. Los Angeles has the largest population of foster youth in the nation. But I also want to encourage people that the need is greater than foster children. The need is great now because of where the world is right now in this very caustic, acrimonious period. We're in war-torn period, and families are in tremendous need globally. So if helping a foster family isn't your jam, you want to do something else, you want to do something, not that it would, it's just as important is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. The need is great in every direction. Doctors Without Borders, there are ways that you can participate and not feel helpless. The worst thing you can do is just say, oh my God, it's so much, I can't do anything, I'm paralyzed. I get that, because it is paralyzing what's going on. It's overwhelming. But if it starts with taking one step towards doing something, and so there are really good organizations. I go back to Doctors Without Borders. You can just Google and see how you can help during the holidays, and where you can give if you just want to give, where the money's protected and it goes to where it should go to help a family. I mean, people are living in tents. Not only across the world, but right here in the United States.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, my son was one of them. I lost him. He was a military vet. 4 years ago, we lost him, and he was homeless. He chose to actually to be on streets, to be there um with other veterans. So and
Yeah.
there is so much that you can do. It can be, you can ask someone how they're doing, make someone smile. You can make small donation, just it's doing something. And if we collectively, we talked about energy, it can be healing, it can make a difference. If you take it one person, and if you take every single person doing a small act, it ends up being significant. So I really appreciate you bringing it up.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
I'm curious, what would you say has gotten better as you have gotten older?
What a great question. Just forgiveness,
Mm,
learning to forgive, because it's very freeing. And walking around with mistakes one makes, forgiving self is powerful. Um, and that has gotten better. Um, and it's okay to do nothing. It's okay to just relax, be with friends, be with family, do something that makes you happy. That's what I've gotten better at.
just being.
Because at this point, Denisa, I'm on the other side of my mountain.
Mm,
And I did a really steep climb for many years. And now I'm on the other side of my mountain doing what makes me happy. Yes, I still act. As I mentioned, a movie I just did premiered on Angel, The Secret Between Us. I'm getting ready to, I'm going to produce and direct this movie, Merry Murder. Um, I I just was invited to audition for a series. I will continue to do this work. Um, I have been an avid photographer
mm.
ever since I can remember, because my foster mother was an avid photographer. And so she passed that on to me to document everything. And that leads me to Czechoslovakia. My long-term boyfriend from many years ago, Peter Sova, he was a great cinematographer. We traveled all throughout Europe multiple times and spent a good deal of time in Czechoslovakia. And we did a lot of photography together. And so fast forward, I've been invited to exhibit a collection of my photography at the Maryland Institute College of Art in September. So the show goes up September 25th in Baltimore, Maryland. MICA for short is the name of the institution, MICA. I'm looking forward to that. And then I will do an artist in residence at the University of Southern Maine. And that's where my social worker and I, one of the offerings is a conversation with us talking about our relationship and our journey. So it's about doing what makes you happy at the point you're ready to do that. There are working years, but there's the struggle years, then there's the working years, there's the years of you've got to make income. Perhaps that includes raising a family, as it did in my case. and then you do the work, but then you're not going to do the work till it kills you. You've
Yeah.
got to find an off ramp at some point and enjoy the work that you have done and do what makes you happy.
As I suspected, you are multi-dimensional, multifaceted human being. You have so much to give. And I love this. This probably would have never happened if I didn't start this podcast. It was out of pure joy and something that is completely unrelated to the business. And it was, after my son had left us, it was, how do you sort of remember him? Well, I remember him smiling and always looking for the best in people. And I said, let's humanize, um, professions, and let's just bring out the raw, the stories out of people and where they came from. And because over time, you change, you gain perspective. And we all started the same place, innocent, and then sort of circumstances change you. But I wanted to focus on that, not so much on what you can Google. And it was one person at a time, and it's been wonderful, beautiful. So I am grateful to that had led me to you, and you're sharing something that is just beautiful and inspiring. So I was very, very, very grateful to then, as a way to sort of keep his in interest in people and see the good in people, to keep it alive through starting this podcast, really not having any idea what shape and what it would be, if anything. And it started with one conversation at a time. So it's beautiful when, people could tap into sort of the raw, the beginning, before you shape by experiences and shape perspectives. And as a result of that, that led me to you. And so I am just thrilled, and I'm really thankful for this really honest and beautiful conversation.
Yes. I can't imagine your loss. It's unimaginable, and you would have had to have done deep, deep work.
I want to say this is such an honest and beautiful conversation, and you have lived a life most people couldn't
Beautiful.
imagine, and you turn it into something that lifts other kids up. And it really stays with me. So thank you so much for being open and so generous with your time and your story. And to our viewers and listeners, obviously, if you want to learn more about Victoria, her memoir, The Women Who Raised Me, is available wherever books are sold. Find her and her work at the links in the show notes below. She has lots going on. And don't forget to hit subscribe on your YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar Podcast. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.